What's up everyone, welcome to Kai's channel. Today we'll be reviewing this, the Crossbone Gundam X3. Now this is the third series of the Crossbone Gundam, and without wasting more time, let's check this one out. So coming right out of the box is the first layer. Now the first layer, as you can see on the left, it's that massive big enemy display stand. And it's actually very huge, as you can see. And then on the right, you can see that are the components for the X3, mostly consists of the weapons and also the core fighters. And here is the second layer. Now on the left, you can see that it's the base of the display stand, the usual one that we've seen, and on the right are the beam effects and also some of the different hands of the X3. And that's it. And of course, last but not least is the main body itself, which you can see right here. Now other than the main body, it also contains some of the other components, the connecting joints on the sides, top, and also on the left side, which is this ball right here. That's the cockpit, but other than that, that's about it. Alright, let's take them out and check them out. So here it is, the core fighter. Now the core fighter looks exactly the same as the previous normal X1 and also the full cloth, only that it's a different color, with the matte white and also the matte blue, and also the gold on all the tips of the beam saber and also on the rest of the thruster, which looks really nice. Alright, let's put the core fighter into the X3. So here it is, the X3 Crossbone Gundam, and just as you can see, it actually looks very similar to the X1 full cloth Gundam, the main body of it at least. And obviously, it's only a color difference. Now there are some parts that's actually different from the X1, which is, one, it's the head. The head, you can see that the antenna, it's totally different, and you don't have the side feather-like antenna that you see with the X1 full cloth. And other than that, on the two side panels on the arms, where the brand markers are, in here on the X3, you don't have that. And you actually have another weapon that you can put onto it, but I'll get to that when we go through the weapons and armaments. But aside from that, it's pretty much the same as it is with the X1 full cloth. So let's check out the movement and then we'll get into the gimmicks and see how similar they are. So starting off, obviously we have the head, which you can turn 360. For some reason, I'm not sure if yours would be the same, but as you can see, mine's is a bit loose. It's not too loose, but it's still loose compared to the X1 that we've seen so far. So just a little watch out on yours if yours is the same as mine. But aside from that, it's actually pretty decent on the tightness. As for the shoulder, obviously you can move 360, but just be careful of the backpack, these wings, that you can knock over if you don't move them away, like that. And the shoulder part, you can actually move it independently, but obviously alongside with the arms. And then on the elbow part, you can go up to here, which is almost all the way to the shoulder. And then right underneath the elbow, you can see this line right here that you can turn the arms 360s as well. Obviously not to mention that the hands as well. Torso, you can move it, tilt it to the front. All the way like this. Leg wise, first we remove the flaps in the front and the back just so that we can move a little bit better. And as usual, the Crossbone Gundam, the movement on the thigh actually moves quite well. You can see that it actually goes above the horizontal line, while to the back, the thigh only goes up around here. And then obviously you can move it onto the side. to horizontal, but the side flap was blocking it, and obviously you can see that mine popped out, so just be careful on that. It's easy to put it back in, just push it back in and it's fixed. Okay, as for the knees, bends all the way to the back. Like this. And then finally is the feet, which you can rotate right here, and then the toes can be moved up and then down as well, but moving downwards is a little bit hard to do, at least for mine. So what I would suggest is to push it all the way to the back and basically clamp downwards. Even so, it's still a little bit hard to do. As for the gimmicks, most of them is actually the same as the X1 full cloth as well, such as on the head. If you open this flap and flip up to the top, it will reveal the inner mouth. And if you want to close it, just simply push it back. Now let's take a look again from the side. If we push up, it opens, and if we push down, it closes. So up and down, just like that. So same gimmicks as the X1. Shoulder wise, the shoulder can move up and this flap can flip outwards, revealing the inner shoulder. As for the hands, this part can open, and then you can see that there's a little item in there like exhaust fans. And then you can close it up, and nothing much here. As for the front skirt, obviously these can be pulled out, and then these can be swing downwards to become a claw. And you can actually hook up a chain from here all the way to the body. Now just like the full cloth, the handles right here can be pulled off. As you can see, this handle, this is the screw whip handle, which you can pull off from here. On its own, it doesn't do anything, and it just kind of hangs in there slightly. So be careful not to lose this part because it does come off quite easily. So just be careful on that. And then last but not least are these little handles right here. That's hidden on the back of the legs, just like the X1. So you can pull it out and then pull it completely, and then you can add the blade onto this handle, which becomes the dagger. Okay, and then just put it back in and push it in. Same for the other side as well. So here it is, are the weapons and armaments. Now although you can see that there's actually quite a number of different parts for this, however, 99% of those are almost exactly the same as they are on the X1 full cloth. So for those are the same as the X1, I'll briefly go through them, and then on the ones that there's differences, I'll go into a little more details on it. Alright? So starting off, we have is the non-transformable head. Now this head you can actually interchange with the ones on the main body, and this one, unlike the one that came with, even if you press on the fin at the back of the head, the mouth doesn't open. It's a non-transformable one. So unless you want to display it with the mouth closed, otherwise most likely you would stick with the one that's able to move around. And next we have is the screw whips, which are the weapons that actually comes out from the back of the rear waist guard. And just like it is with the X1, the hook is a bright orange with a gold onto it, and then on the center is a drill-like item. And then connecting all the way to the handle is this black wire, which is metal, and you can basically bend into whichever shape that you would feel like. So that's the same as the X1. As for these two blades, you can actually combine it with the hidden handles that's from the legs, and also you can actually put it onto the bottom of the feet so that it sticks out like a hidden weapon. So up to you to decide which weapons that you can put onto. Next we have all these three weapons, which is the beam zamber, the buster gun, and also the grenade. For the beam zamber, you can actually put two different types of beam effect to it, the straight one and also the one that's a little bit curved. And then for these three items, you can actually combine them into one single bigger item, which is the Zen Buster. And then lastly, we have is the Muramasa Blaster, which as you can see is the same as the X1 full cloth, only the coloring is different. You see the skull is actually colored in blue, and also the decals is now in red instead of gold, which looks a lot more apparent than it is originally. I actually like this a lot better with the red decals because it actually makes a bigger contrast with the white and also the gold on it. So I personally like this one better. Okay, last but not least is this hook and scissors shield. Now the name isn't that great personally, I think. You could have named it a lot better, but the design of it actually looks pretty cool. The hook is actually colored very nicely, and you can actually pull this off to combine with one of the chains to put it on one side, and then the other side is with the hook. So definitely pretty cool right here. But aside from the hook, like the name implies again, you can actually turn it upside down, and then this part of the shield right here can actually pull out a little bit. Will be easier from the side to see. You can actually twist it open to form a claw like this, which they call it scissors, however you like it to call it. And you can go open up like this, or close it down like that. Pretty neat weapon. And then you can push it back inwards to close it up. So here it is, the main attraction of the X3 set, which is this right here. And as you briefly saw, it's basically built upon three layers: the base, the body, and then the top of the head, along with the arms that you attach on the side. And other than that, you got this little cockpit that you can put in the top, which is hidden by the cover. And that's about it. Now let's take a look on what it can do. So first of all, the base, you can actually turn. Excuse for the sound, it's pretty unbearable. But it can actually turn 360s. And then it actually can tilt sideways. Now as for the arm, you can actually move it on from the shoulder right here. That's one joint. And the elbow part right here doesn't seem to be able to move. And then last, it's the hands itself, which obviously can turn 360. But other than that, that's about it for the movement. Now you take a look on the bottom. You can actually see that there's a hold on here on this side of the body, which you can actually pull off the arm and attach it to this side. Like so. However, we're only given the left hands, so it would definitely look weird if you put it on this side. So not sure why they actually have the second hole right here, unless they're planning to release the other arm in something like an option set for the X3, which I'm not sure there's actually even and additional weapons for the X3 unless they're going with something very original. Now as for the head inside, basically slap it on, and then you got this little cockpit ball right here, which is just slightly, you see this hole right here, right in the dead center. You basically just slot it in and just place it there, and it doesn't lock in place, so if you turn it upside down, it drops right out, so just have to be careful on that. But then you do have a cover on the top of it that actually protects it, so even if it does come out, it's still going to be stuck inside this. So that's actually pretty okay. Now the eyes right here, it doesn't move. As you can see, it doesn't move, or if there's any other gimmicks onto it other than the arm itself. And as for here, the damage part right here, this is actually technically for you to slot in the beam effect for the Murasama blaster. As you can see, it actually fits inside right here. So something like this when it's put on it. And it's actually pretty okay. Now I don't have the sword with me, so that's why it's stuck pretty well. If it's with the sword, it most likely it's going to fall out. Now overall, I think it's actually pretty okay with all the details, the paint, as well as the movement. Other than that, the shoulder, other than the elbow arms, that joint doesn't move. But aside from that, it's actually pretty decent. Now one thing I did hope for is that this on its own would actually have some kind of metal component built into it so that it actually weighs a little heavier. Now the reason why I say this is that this thing can actually dock with the base of the display stand, which we're gonna get to later, and then most likely you have the X3 displayed high up in the air. Now Metal Build has been really good in doing their display stand. It doesn't fall or anything, but if you have something this big, if there's actually a little more weight, it would definitely stabilize the base of the display stand so that your display won't be knocked off sideways and fall down. So that's why I was hoping that this thing it actually has a little more weight. Alright, let's move on to the base of the display stand and see how this one places it onto it. So here's the base of the display stand. Now overall it's a gray color with the design on all four corners and a logo in the center, and then of course the Crossbone Gundam X3 at the bottom, which is a same design as the X1 and very similar to the X1 full cloth. So the design, they actually pretty standardized on all three of them, which I really hope that they would have some sort of uniqueness on each one of them, because so far it looks pretty dull, and all the difference between all three, it's the model number and also the name that's listed on the bottom. But other than that, everything is the same, so definitely they can improve some of that. Now, how do you put the big giant thing onto the display stand? Well, we need to have this piece right here, which actually comes with this set, and you place it in the center right here. And this piece right here, some of you might realize that in other set of the Metal Build does actually come with similar ones, especially the ones that with the transparent supporting arms that goes into each on the side. So it's a very similar piece right here. I'm not sure if it's exactly the same, but definitely very similar. So after you put that, and then obviously the normal displays that goes on here, but I'm gonna set that aside for now because it actually blocks the way when we display it. Alright, so once that's ready, you take this giant piece right here, and then you can see that there's actually two holes right here. Now choose whichever one you want, and then just basically place it onto it. So let's choose one. We're gonna go with this one right here. Okay. Let's turn it around so that you guys can see. Again, this hole right here. and then you just place onto it, and that's it. Now without anything else, it actually locks in quite well, so don't have to be worried about it. And in order for you to display with the X3 with also the stands, just adjust the angle on the top main body. Just be careful on the squeaky sound, which I tell you, I hate that sound very much. Okay, there we go. So definitely looking really well here. And then all you have to do is just place the X3 onto it, and that's it. In conclusion, what do I think about this piece? Now this piece is actually better than what I originally anticipated during the pre-order. Originally, I thought that the X3 would only be similar to the X1 with the addition of the Muramasa blaster from the full cloth. And then of course the enemy, the big bulky enemy for you to display, and probably that's about it. But here, after the review, we see that the X1 is painted really nicely, and also you have the entire weapon set from the full cloth, even down to the screw whips, which is really great. And then as for the enemy that you can display, it wasn't just a block of plastic, you can actually move it, but you might have seen from the video earlier that when you're turning it and twisting it, there's a squeaky sound of it, which is really annoying. So not something that I like, but other than that, it's actually pretty great. The arm, it can actually move on the shoulder, but I was expecting that it would actually move on the elbow part as well, but that didn't happen. And the overall paint on the entire thing is actually done pretty well, so definitely better than I thought originally. Now the only thing that I'm actually disappointed in this is that the enemy as a display, I was expecting some sort of metal components die cast that's built into it, maybe on the arms, maybe on the bottom part of it so that it weights down on the weight, but we have none of that. It's all plastic. That's the only thing that I think is disappointing on this piece, but other than that, everything's actually quite decent. I didn't see anything that is potentially an issue, so definitely recommend it for those of you who likes the X3, or even if you want the enemy as the display for maybe crossover with the full cloth. It's definitely a piece that you should get, although it's actually a little bit costly for what it's worth. Now if you're someone like me who doesn't really care about the enemy to display on your display case, then maybe this will be a little overpriced, because not only do you not care about the enemy, but also the X3, it's overall it's everything that we've seen from the full cloth. So there's no new elements in that other than the scissors hook shield, which is something new. So definitely not much new item from this piece. So with that, I'll actually give this piece a 4 out of 5. If it wasn't for it to be this costly, it would actually go up to a 4.5 or maybe even a 5 if they actually incorporate also the die-cast component onto the enemy. It would make this piece so much better, in my opinion. What do you guys think? Alright, that's it with today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it and find it useful. As always, do support me by hitting that like button and also subscribe to my channel for more videos. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.